These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Reckless Speculation.
To all who celebrate, it's a scoop session here. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We have some interesting Timberwolves steam to get to. We will also put a bow on game one. But, Judd, I'm putting you on the spot here a little because I forgot to tell you before the show. Let's talk about Finch Home Solutions, if we could. Finch Basketball Solutions is going to be very busy the next couple days, but Finch Home Solutions can be of help to you guys, the listeners.
Yes, and as you can see with all of those trucks departing the headquarters, busy as well, but that's because they are happy to be busy serving you and making sure that any electrical needs around your home are taken care of. Here's the nice thing. I'm talking big or small. I mean, small, let's say that you have a 2-prong outlet and you're like, I need a 3-prong because that's what people have now. Finch Home Solutions to the rescue. Let's say that you have a kitchen remodel. I'm talking about the whole thing being redone. And if you do, congratulations, that's awesome. But a lot of electrical work to be done there as well. Guess what? Finch to the rescue. Cody and his team, fast, courteous, efficient. I have used them myself. I'm going to tell you right now, it's as easy as can possibly be. And if you want to talk some purple, guess what? They would love to because they are huge Vikings fans as well. Just check them out. FinchHomeSolutions.com. FinchHomeSolutions.com is the website. Go to that and make sure that you tell them that the guys from SKOR North told you Finch Home Solutions is the answer to all of your home needs electronically.
Doogie, let's get into some reckless Timberwolves front office speculation right now. What can we surmise by these Detroit Pistons Tim Connelly flirtations?
All right, I'll go down that road. By the way, we know that Finch Home Solutions kicks ass. You're right, Phil. Finch Court Solutions needs to get to work before game 2 on Friday. So I've been pretty aggressive, at least in some tweets on social media, suggesting no way, no how is Tim Connelly going to the Detroit Pistons. Well, lo and behold, I get a text the other day. This was after we chatted on Tuesday. And this is the person who first led me down the path years ago that, hey, just so you know, keep your eye on the Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez situation because it's going to be wonky. So while others suggested, hey, no problems, Mark and Alex, everything is good to go. Years ago, we said, hey, like this thing is weird. It's going to get weirder. Well, it has, right? So this person certainly knows a lot of stuff. This person just told me it's weird. Like this person works in the league. Okay, let me make that clear. Said, hey, it's weird. Like the Pistons, like you hear the name Trajan Langdon, you hear some other names, but like why haven't they announced a hire? And so the longer this thing goes on, I would just say let's continue to monitor that situation. Now, if the Pistons announce a new president of operations, later this week, early next week, fine, so be it. But as long as that job is open, we have reported in this space, I've reported on Channel 5 going back a couple weeks, the Pistons are 100% interested in Tim Connelly. This is all about Tim, right? Tim has control here because he can opt out, which we laid out this time last year, can opt out after the second year of his contract. So if Tim wants to opt out, he can become a free agent. He could sign a lucrative contract with the Pistons to run their front office. I'm just saying now, over the last 36 hours, it's now more on my radar, especially if Glen Taylor controls the team into the summer, into next year. If Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez, if arbitration goes their way, we still don't have an arbitration date. Or if Glen just backs out. I mean, Glen is 83. Joe Schmidt, my colleague, spent some time with Glen postgame on Sunday in Denver. Like Glen said, hey, my back is really bad. Like you combine 83 with a bad back. Like Glen is just not feeling real well right now. So like, is it possible Glen just throws in the towel? There's no sense, at least from the Lowry A-Rod camp, that is going to happen. But is that possible somewhere here in the next couple months where Glen just says, okay, Uncle Mercy, fine, I will sell to you, Mark and Alex. Process over. You are the majority owners. What I'm saying is Tim absolutely will work for Mark and Alex. I pause a little bit if Glen remains majority owner that Tim Connelly, Glen Taylor relationship. So I'm just saying a couple things, right? If Glen retains majority ownership, but more so, what's going on with the Pistons? Do they hire somebody else? They've interviewed other candidates, or do they wait out the Wolves, wait out Tim Connelly? The longer this thing goes on, I'm just saying it's worth us paying attention to.
And Dukes, this is what concerned me because, we have heard that behind the scenes, when Mark and Alex broached Conley, that Glen was either lukewarm or flat out not really familiar with his body of work. Well, if we know that, Tim Connelly does. He's a smart guy. And if he can get a raise, which, I mean, it's not like he's not breaking the bank here, but if he gets a raise, it all makes perfect sense that if he thinks that the franchise might be, in air quotes, held hostage, why wouldn't you pursue elsewhere? Like, I mean, I think he came here with a vision, and he was probably told this in the penthouse in New York with A-Rod and Laurie. He was probably shown a blueprint, a vision of like where this was supposed to go, and it sort of has. But if you're now told we ain't so sure and this might not work, I mean, I'm sorry, because Tim Connelly's done a great job and it would suck to lose him. I don't blame him one bit.
Can I add to that too, that how weird must it be? I mean, Glen put out a memo internally several weeks back basically saying disassociate from Mark and Alex. And of course, Mark and Alex are showing up at all the games. They got their seats. They're back. I mean, yesterday, Alex is there like an hour and a half before the game, just talking to everybody. And you see they're all over the place. They're traveling.
The club is open.
The club is bumping 2 hours after the Game 6 win against Denver.
I tried to get it.
Club A-Rod. But you've got Tim Connelly sitting here, and I'm just speculating on this, and I'm sure – I mean, he is aligned with Mark and Alex because they're the ones that plucked him from Denver. Now, credit to Glen, I guess, for just staying out of the way and letting these guys drive the car. But I'm sure Mark and Alex have been in Tim's ear saying, dude, we don't know what this guy is doing here, but this is going to play out. We're going to get the team. Trust us on this. It's just a weird hiccup. But if you're Tim, you're looking around saying, okay, I have an opt-out. There's other teams. My value keeps going up every single year. I've got other teams like the Pistons that want to hire me, maybe double my salary again. How long do I want to wait around here to see if this thing plays out? I don't want to work for Glen. So, like, this is such a messy situation and timeline right now. And I almost like the only way it fully gets resolved to me is if Mark and Alex take over majority ownership as soon as possible. And then Tim Connelly can say, okay, cool. Let's keep running this thing forward for another couple of years. Would Glen Doogie ever look around and say, I'm 83, my back hurts, my health is not what it was 5 or 10 years ago. If I beat these guys in the legal process, the guy that put the team together is going to bolt. People are going to hate me. Like, would he ever look in the mirror and just be like, you know what? Maybe if I love the Timberwolves so much, the best thing that I can do is just get out of the way. Would he ever do something like that?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily dismiss. I mean, Glen can waver. Like, in this very moment, I don't know if Becky Taylor, Glen's wife, would approve such a thing. But I'm just wondering just a little bit, just because I know that Glen's health is not great. He's 83, right? And, like, this could go on for a bit. Is he willing to sacrifice what he needs to sacrifice to continue this fight? How tiring, how draining will this fight be? So I think it's a fair question.
What is he fighting for?
Well, he's fighting.
Another billion?
That's a good question, right? I mean, I think he's fighting.
What's he fighting for?
The terms of the contract. Did Alex and Mark honor those terms? Plus, reckless speculation. How about this? You mean to tell me there's not pressure from other owners saying 1.5? Like, really, Glen?
And the minority
that franchise is worth at least 2.5, if not 3.
Oh, well.
Really, 1.5? Right? So that's a little bit more reckless speculation, but hearing from some other people, like, Glen, what were you doing at 1.5? Like, that doesn't make sense, Glen, right? So all encompassing. Back to what Judd said about when Mark and Alex, more so Mark, right? But Alex was part of it, hiring Tim. Yeah, New York City, penthouse, all that, right? Laying out the vision 2 years ago. That vision, May of 2024, included Mark Laurie and Alex Rodriguez being majority owners. We laid it out at the time 2 years ago. If it was just Glen Taylor, Sachin Gupta gets elevated, right? Interim tag, removed. It wasn't going to ever be Tim Connelly with Glen Taylor calling that shot. But yes, Phil, Glen deserves credit for getting out of the way. Hey, Mark. Hey, Alex. If you want to pursue Tim Connelly, go right ahead. It would be double too, by the way. Like, we'd be talking $15 to $20 million a year. Like, if he's going to Detroit, he's not leaving for just a minimal raise to $9, $10, $11 million a year. Yeah. We're talking darn near double. They just gave Monty Williams ridiculous coaching money. That ownership group is willing to spend a lot of money.
Hey, Dukes, just to be clear here as well. So Conley has an opt-out. If Detroit is calling, so like it seems like he would be a fool not to exercise it. If Detroit is calling and saying, 20 million, dude, we'll pay it. He will opt out. And then I would guess, if nothing else, if it's 20, let's say, or 18, come back to either Glenn, Alex, or Mark and say, can you match that, right? Because at some point in time, if it's that stupid, I would find it hard to believe that he wouldn't exercise the opt-out and take the raise, because I don't know a lot of players or executives that are like, no, I'm good, I'll stay at my current salary if they're being offered double their current salary.
I think if it got that far down the road, Judd, he's just off to Detroit.
Okay.
If it gets to that point, he's going to Detroit with some sort of understanding that the Taylor family, Glenn, Becky, are going to remain majority owners. That he'd have to report to Glenn, not Mark, not Alex, like he thought when he accepted this job 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So interesting, man. This is so interesting. On the actual game, what a different feel just to the flow of the game and the strategies compared to the Denver series. It really, Judd and I did like an hour-long live post-game show from Target Center last night. If you haven't caught that yet, SKOR North YouTube channel, Flagrant Howls podcast feed. It really felt like, because this version of the Mavericks that's been put together with, just more size, defense, post-trade deadline, these two teams haven't really fought against each other. So it really felt like two heavyweight boxers feeling each other out for 48 minutes. But at the end of the day, Luka and Kyrie were much, much better than Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns in that game. And some of the talk from Anthony Edwards about, we were just a little sluggish, a little tired, our energy was low. On one hand, you hate to hear that because it's the Western Conference Finals. On the other hand, they just went through a grueling 7-game series with backs and forths and altitude against the defending champions. So I coming out a little sluggish in game one, not totally shocking. What were your main takeaways, Doogie, from game one?
Agree, although it's not like Dallas had like 4 extra days of rest, right? Dallas played game 6 on Saturday. Dallas played 6 games in the first round, 6 in the second round. Okay, Wolves 4, then 7. So Dallas played 12 games, the Wolves 11. But I get it. Grueling 7-game series, altitude, Sunday night. I get all that. But I'm not necessarily saying, okay, like Dallas had all this extra energy. The Wolves were incredibly tired. I get it. Post-game, they acknowledged being tired, but I'm not chalking that up. To me, what stands out is, a couple things. Mike Conley Jr., locker room post-game, citing drop coverage, that wasn't the plan. So there was some sort of disconnect with the drop coverage, the way the Wolves were defending Luka Doncic specifically, but others with the drop coverage. So there was some sort of disconnect. So that's an easy fix to me, heading into Friday. If you had told me the Wolves would be plus 36 from 3-point range, I would have said, ball game. Wolves win. I can't, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my arms around the Wolves giving up 60-something points in the paint. Then the other thing, the Wolves, the second half of the regular season, Phil, were a bottom 5 clutch team. So when I say clutch, game within 5 points, 5 minutes to go, fourth quarter, and overtime. The Wolves were dreadful in those situations, final half of the regular season. Now, they had that in Game 7 on Sunday. Jamal Murray hit a shot with under 5 minutes to go, and it was a 3-point game. All right, so it was a one-possession game, but the Wolves had possession then. Naz Reid made a couple free throws to get it back to 5. Last night was their first true, to me, one-possession game, couple minutes to go in a while. They failed miserably in those situations second half of the regular season. Then you think about those turnovers. Dallas scored 9 points off Wolves turnovers in the fourth quarter. Jaden McDaniels turnover. PJ Washington 3. The Mike Conley turnover. Yeah, there was a timeout thereafter, but then Luka made a shot next Dallas possession. Those 2 key Wolves turnovers. We've seen that. It reared its ugly head again. But to me, some of that stuff can be fixable. One more thing before you chime in. I had a nice conversation with Mike Conley Sr. the other day. He laid out pretty good how messed up his son's, what's the official medical term? I mean, it's an Achilles
something,
strain, but it's got some fancy
soleus.
Medical term. Yeah, he was saying Junior could barely walk after game 4 against Denver. We know he didn't play against Denver in game 5, fought through games 6 and 7. But Mike, he missed free throws last night. He missed shots that he normally makes. Mike doesn't turn the ball over. So I'm talking about a key turnover late.
Yeah.
Mike doesn't turn the ball over. I'm just telling you, Mike Conley Jr. is, I don't know how to quantify if he's 75%, 65%, but clearly that injury is impacting him.
Yeah.
The end of the first half, too, Dukes, was really bad, I thought, because that's, I mean, that game.
Well, you have to hold for the final shot. What was Ant doing?
Right.
Just hold the ball, dribble, take a shot. I'll take my chances of Ant taking any shot. Just take the shot.
That game was going to be close. The cool thing about this series, unlike Denver, is I think that most games are going to be tight. I think these two teams work hard, are evenly matched in lots of ways. And so this is not going to be game 1, we blow you out. Game 2, you win by 15. And so the turnovers to me were magnified by that fact, which is, Ant had 3. I can think of 2 where he literally threw the ball into the crowd. Unfortunately, in a game like that, you can't have that.
No, I mean, and they missed 7 free throws. 49 of their 89 shots were from 3. The Wolves were bottom 10 in the league in the regular season in 3-pointers attempted, right? But 49 of your 89 shots were threes. Now, Judd, agree with what you just said, but if you're Dallas, you can look at a couple possessions because I agree. I think a lot of these games will come down to just 2 or 3 possessions.
Right.
How about Daniel Gafford jump ball with Mike Conley Jr., where Jaden McDaniels ends up with the ball, ends up going in for a layup? What are the chances of that? How about Josh Green? How often is Naz Reid going to be able to block that dunk attempt? To me, more often than not, Josh Green is going to be able to get those 2 points, dunk the ball. So to me, you think about those 2 possessions that went the Wolves' way, not Dallas's way. Plus, I do think Dallas will shoot the ball better. Some of their other guys, like PJ Washington, yes, he made that 3 to make it 104-102. How many open threes? I'm talking wide open threes, especially in the first half. How many did he miss? I counted 4 or 5. Forget the exact number.
He was
he's
bound
not going to miss all those threes. He's just not.
Yeah, I would say this, though. I think regression hit him pretty hard in that game. He's not a good 3-point shooter, but in the playoffs, he shot 40% so far. So
that's my thing. In the playoffs, he's been so good.
Yeah, he's bound to miss some of those, but yeah, it is. I think the hard part about Luka Doncic is one of the 3 best players in the world. So there's a lot of hard parts about him, but he is. We were talking about this with Royce. He's one of the only players in the entire league that looks unbothered by Jaden McDaniels. I mean, Jaden McDaniels is the defensive cheat code for this team. You can put him on pretty much anyone from a 6'2" guard up to guys who are 6'8", 6'9", and he can pester them and bother them and make their life miserable. And Luka Doncic looked slightly annoyed a couple times. Otherwise, he got pretty much whatever he wanted, especially in the second half. So they're going to have to find, if Jaden McDaniels can't really do much with Luka Doncic, that's going to be an interesting twist to this series. Now, this is more of a Kyle Anderson series than the previous 2 rounds, and he played well last night. So this team does a great job adjusting and going back to the drawing board. So I fully expect something different and just something more strategically sound in game 2. But they're trailing. They had a chance despite all of the shortcomings and just the sluggishness of Anthony Edwards. They had a chance to still steal that game. Boston stole their game, right? Boston should have lost their game 1. They wind up just getting out of town with a win. So we'll see, Doogie. Hey, before we empty the rest of your scoop bag, a shout out to our friends over at Nicolay Law here, the official personal injury law firm of SKOR North Podcasts. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop. Things can get complicated. That's where Nicolay Law comes in to make sure you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. These are just normal, everyday folks that are part of the communities that you live in and around the Twin Cities. The difference is they are normal folks who have law degrees, and they're here to help you at nicolaylaw.com or 1-855-NICOLAY. That's nicolaylaw.com or 1-855-NICOLAY. Our friends at Dennis Kirk are also here to help you during riding season. So motorcycle riders, ATV riders, UTVs, dirt bikes, whatever it is that you ride, DennisKirk.com has over 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories, all the top brands. They have same-day shipping and free shipping on orders over $89, financing plans if you need, and a ride finder tool where you can enter your make, your model, and your year and find parts that fit what your ride is. DennisKirk.com supporting us here at SKOR North. Okay, Dukes, what else you got in that scoop bag? Let's go rapid fire here.
All right, Rudy Gobert, no bonus for making first team all defense. Jaden McDaniels will get a bonus for being all defense starting next year. Like, to me, barring injury, right? Like, he's going to be an all defensive guy for many more years. But this season, reminder, he's still on his rookie scale contract. So his extension, that $135 million extension, kicks in next season.
Yeah.
So starting next season, if he makes all defensive team, he'll get a $430,000 increase, and it goes up every year. So every time he makes all defense, it's a nice chunk of money for Jaden McDaniels, but not this year. Mike Conley Jr., $750,000 bonus if the Wolves make the finals. Another $750,000 bonus if the Wolves win the championship. Where that becomes interesting is you look at where they are at luxury tax wise. From what I can tell, they can absorb $750. 1.5 though, that would count against the cap. That would put them over. Now, to me, that's a great problem, right? If you're hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy, whatever, right?
We're fine.
Yes, you end up not being able to grab from, the luxury tax money in the middle, right? That chunk of pie, right? For being a tax team, right? And, there are issues if you're a tax team 3 out of 4 years, right? So it might just start the clock 1 year earlier than they expected. But again, you deal with all that. No big deal if you're hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy if you are the champion, but something to keep in mind. Gophers baseball hires a head coach. John Anderson gets his wish. Ty McDevitt, the pitching coach, elevated, certainly has John's stamp of approval. I do know that Tyler Oaks, Todd Oaks' son, the late Todd Oaks, former Gophers pitching coach. Todd died way too soon. Tyler's doing a good job at North Dakota State. He did not get an interview. There was a thought he would at least get an interview. He did not get an interview. I was told, I wish I had names, but this is in the moment, the Georgetown head coach and the Kent State head coach were also in the mix. So they sort of did an outside search, but I think the focus for a while, especially with John's approval, was, hey, please elevate my pitching coach, Ty McDevitt. Busy stretch for the Twins, scouting all these college baseball tournaments. You got the ACC, Big 12, SEC for sure. So Tim O'Neill, one of their main guys, is out and about. He'll be at the ACC and SEC. Sean Johnson is the draft boss. He's doing more video work. He's going to check out a high school guy or two. The Twins have 3 picks in the top 60 of July's draft. And on the Vikings, I know Justin Jefferson in town. He was at Target Center last night. Still not hearing that a contract extension is like on the cusp, is imminent. So I wouldn't necessarily read into too much that he's here in town right now. But I've yet to hear from anybody with the Vikings that there's like this great cause for concern that the extension eventually won't get done. Like the Vikings still feel like, whether it's mid-July, late July, maybe it bleeds into August, whatever, the Vikings still feel confident about getting this deal done.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. I mean, it's, they've been working on this. They've been close for 10 months, maybe even longer. And on one hand, you wonder, well, why isn't it done? Why haven't the Vikings just made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL? Do they not want to? But then again, if you're Justin Jefferson and company, the next real deadline is training camp. I know there's the mandatory mini camp, but training camp is really like the next real, where if you start missing training camp and we're getting close to the season, I'm with Judd on this. I think it'd be nice with 2 new quarterbacks to get the most important skill position player in the league on the field, timing, routes, all those things. But I don't know. It's not time to panic yet, it feels like. But the longer it goes, the more of an eyebrow I would tend to raise here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pushing any sort of panic button. Sure. Would it be nice if he was at OTAs? Absolutely. Like, I fully expect him to be at the mandatory minicamp in early June, just like he was last year. And hey, like, can I see this deal getting done on the eve of training camp or early in training camp? I could, right? Yeah. If it's not done by, say, August 15th-ish, okay, maybe we can have, a different tone with this conversation. And hey, like, how many reps is he really going to get with J.J. McCarthy anyway? I mean, Judd, you were there the other day.
You get a lot with Darnold right now.
He's going to be the guy week 1. And hey, Sam might start the entire year for all we know, right? If Sam plays well, especially, right? Yeah. You're not going to pull the plug. But to me, it's more about McCarthy with Jefferson. And I just don't know exactly how many reps. Sure, here, there. But I don't know. How big of a deal is it in May? I don't know. I guess I'm not there, is what I'm saying. So, sure, it'd be nice if he's there, but to me, it's not like, something outlandish or crazy that he's not there.
Yeah. I just like my guys to get some work together, a little time to gel.
Well, I mean, don't forget, same representation, right? So, trust me,
off-campus.
The agents can help with that relationship, Jefferson.
Off-campus work.
Specifically with McCarthy.
Ooh, aggregators, unite.
I mean, maybe they get together, July 4th, right? Before training camp, whatever it might be. I'm not saying anything's like officially in the works right now, but I'm just saying when you share representation,
right,
you can find ways to connect.
Yeah. All right, Doogie. Great stuff here today. Great scoop session.
All right, boys. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good, man. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness
Happy SummerSlam news.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
2026 SummerSlam. Buckle up.
I might be a dad by then, but I'm going. I don't care. At this rate, I'm all
might
for
be
it.
a dad
I will
times
bring a child.
2.
Yeah, because I know. I thought it was next year.
2.5 years from now.
I know. I thought it was next year. I had to reread the press release to figure out it's 2 years from now. So yeah, I'm going. I'll be there.
You can have kids that quick, Dex?
We'll see. We'll certainly see.
Might get in the way of the show.
I'm well aware. You are the sole reason I am terrified to have kids, not the actual dad. Your opinions
Sports grandpa might not approve of this.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, does Judd become a sports grandpa if one of the guys on the show has kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then you can get all that parenting advice from Judd. It'll be great.
I can help.
All right, boys. I gotta go mow the lawn. See ya.
All right, there you go.
All right,
That's Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Real quick. Hey, the Twins back on that winning track here. They'll be home soon with more wins racked up. That 7-game losing streak is behind them. And as I like to say, whether they're winning or losing, it's the best bar in the Twin Cities, Target Field. Great place to just bounce around on these summer days. You can get your tickets at twins.com/tickets. Twins.com/tickets. Byron Buxton, couple home runs the other day. Carlos Correa. Royce Lewis will be back at some point here. Twins.com/tickets, boys. That's your scoop session here with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson. Flagrant Howls with an episode later today with Kyle Tighe and the recap episode from last night. And Purple Daily diving deeper into the Justin Jefferson reports on this Thursday. See you guys.